Hello and welcome to this exciting tutorial. Today we're learning how to upload files to your website using PHP. So I've created this basic HTML page. So let's take a look at what's involved here. So in my page, I've created the body, opening body tag and the closing body tag. That's where everything is. Okay, so the body is the one that has this background image in there. So what I did was I got an image in the same folder as the PHP file. So that's the image being used, that's the background. And then I've got this div called wrapper. The wrapper is this white div over here. Okay. And then inside that wrapper, I've got a header. This is the header div at the top, which has click browse to select. That's the div there. And then I've got this div called viewer, which is down here as with a white outline here. That's the box inside the box. That's the viewer. So the idea is that files will be uploaded up here and then they will appear in this viewer later. So we'll be uploading images and audio files as well. Okay, so let me go up here because the styles are up here. So don't forget to add these IDs because these IDs are important for the CSS. For these styles to know which ID, which style goes on which div. So let me just scroll through the styles so you can see them. You may pause the video when you want to. This is the line that creates the background image on the body. Okay, so background image, that's the image in the same folder as the PHP file. All right, so let me scroll down a little bit. And the wrapper, if you notice, the wrapper is semi-transparent, and the reason is the background color. So I'm using the RGBA, which is red, green, blue, alpha. So these numbers here represent white, and then this is the alpha. So 1 is completely opaque. So if I put a 1 here, for example, and I refresh the page, you see it becomes completely solid white. But if I put a 0.4, that's when you see this transparency going on there. All right, so the viewer, and then we've got this body IMG. Now this one is going to determine how all images in the body are going to be displayed. So in this case, they're going to float to the left so that they are all on one line, and then their width will be 147 and with a margin of 6 pixels. All right, so let me do a scroll through slowly so you can copy these. You can pause the video where necessary. So you copy all these styles. Okay. And then make sure I don't forget the IDs. All right, so that now we are done with the basic HTML. Let's go to the exciting part, which is the PHP. So we can start uploading some stuff. All right, so now we want to put the file uploader right underneath the header. Okay, so to do that, we need to create a form because a form is the only way users can send information to your website. All right, so to do that, let's create an opening form tag and the closing form tag like that. Okay. Now, the important thing on the form, let me just increase the size, the font size a little bit. So the important thing is to specify the method. So the method is post. Okay. And then another important thing is to specify the encoding type. ENC type equals, you say multipart / form - data like that. So as long as you're going to be uploading files to your website, in your form, you need to specify this line exactly the way it appears. Otherwise, this will not work. And you need to make sure that the method is post. Okay. So now let's add some input fields here so that users can send their data. So to start with, I'll add an input field of type. Now the type for uploading files is file. So that's the type of input, it's file. And we must specify a name. So I'll give it a name of my file. All right. So let me save this and refresh so we see what we've got. So as you can see, we've got a browse button here that has just appeared. Okay, but we also need a post button, something for users to click to post the information. So I'll add another input field. This time it's of type submit because it's a submit button. So I don't need to name this one, but I do need to create a value for it because this value is the text that appears on the button itself. So in this case, it's post. So let me refresh that page and you see the button over there. Okay. Now we do actually have styles for this button. For example, we've got a style here called button, so we must activate this one in order for the button to use. So we do that by specifying an ID of button. The reason we're naming it button is because we want you to use this style. So let me save that and refresh the page, and as soon as I do that, you see it looks like that. But I want it on a separate line, so let me add a break tag immediately after the file, like that. Okay, and it goes to the next line. I may need to add a couple more of these break tags to move it lower, like that. That's awesome. All right, so what we've done so far is good, because now if I hit the browse button, I actually get a file browser, which allows me to select a file like this one and hit post. Okay, now what happens when I hit post is that the page is refreshed. Okay, the difference now is that a post variable is created by PHP, which contains these values here. Okay, so let's go up here, actually not too far, just up here, and create some PHP tags so we can process that information. All right, now as soon as you add an input type of file, what PHP does is it creates a variable, a global variable called files. Okay, like that. So I want us to see what's inside these files when we click post. So I'll use the print r, which is print readable function, which comes with PHP, to see what's actually inside there. So if I refresh the page right now, I see it says array, and it looks like an empty array actually. Now for us to see better, before I do that, let me just show you how this will look like. Let me hit post, and you see that we've got an array now inside there, but it's not very readable. So let me echo out some pre-tags so that we have a better reading of what's going on. So let me put this below and hit save. So we are checking out what's inside the files after let me browse, load a file, and hit post. Okay, now we see what's going on here. Now I think the text is a little bit too small, so let me increase the size like that. Okay, so you can see better. So now we've got an array. This is an array inside an array. So this array is my file, and it's got a bunch of parameters in here. So the first one is name, and this name is the name of the file that we're uploading. So it's 0.jpg. This one below is the type. As you can see, it's image/jpg. That's the type for images. And then we've got this one, temp name. Now temp name contains the location where the file goes to when it's uploaded onto the server, and so this is a temporary file location. Error is equal to 0, so you want this error to always be 0, which means no errors have occurred during the transfer. And then size is the size in bytes of this file. So this looks like it's 118 kilobytes. Okay, so now the thing is, we could upload several files at once as well if we wish to, by duplicating these file uploaders and renaming the other one to something else so they don't conflict. And if I refresh the page, I have two of these browse buttons now, so I can load in one file here and load in another file here and hit post. And what you realize is that each one of those files has a memory location of its own when it's uploaded, and a temporary file location as well. So we have that image. Let me actually try to load two file types here. Let me browse and load an MP3 as well and post. And so you see here the type on this one is audio JPEG, whereas this one is image JPEG. Sorry, this was audio MPEG. This is for MP3. So this is how you can know what type of file a user is actually uploading by checking the type. Okay, so let's go back and remove the second one here, which we do not need. And let me refresh the page. So we have one of these, and let me upload again and post. All right, so how do we secure this file onto the server? So there's one function we need to use, which is called move uploaded file. Now this one takes in two parameters. The first one is the source of the file. The second one is the destination. So let me just create variables for those. I'll say source is equal to, and then I'll say destination is equal to. So we'll add some values there, but for now let me use these and say source, whatever we'll put there, comma, destination. Okay, so now let's specify the source. Where is the file coming from? So now we know that the file is sent to this temp name, so whatever location this is, that's where the file will be. So that's where we'll find it. So remember that this is an array inside an array, so we have to specify both array names, that and that. So let me get this my file here and specify that this one comes from files. This is the source, and then I do that file, my file. Now the reason why this one is my file is because that's what we named it in the form right there. So my file and then temp name. Let's copy that and put it over there. All right, so this is the source. Now the destination is a path we have to specify as well. So to do that, let me just create a folder in here which will be named uploads. That's where I'll be uploading all my files. So in the same place as the PHP file is. So let me specify it as uploads. That's the destination slash. Now I need to specify a file name here. So whatever name I specify here, I must remember to put a file extension like .jpg or .mp3. Okay, if I specify a literal name. But if we copy the exact file name from the original file name, you see it already has the extension, so we won't need to do that. So we can find this in my file name. So we use the original file name. So let me just copy this over here and then leave it as name. So my file name contains the original file name, so we'll leave it like that. So let's recap a little bit. What we are doing here is we are uploading a file, but getting it from the temp name and sending it onto the uploads folder using the same original file name as the destination. So let's try to refresh the page now, and immediately you see an error, unidentified index on line 70. So let's check it out. Line 70 is this one. So it's saying this is an unidentified index. Why? Because files at this point contains nothing, because we haven't yet clicked the post button. Okay, so now we need to find a way for this part of the PHP to only work after we hit the post button. So now there's a cool variable called server, which gives information about your server. So let's check out what's inside server at this point. So all this information is contained in server. What we're interested in, however, is the request method. So if you look at this, it's a get request at this moment, which is nice. But if we hit the post button, this very request changes to post. It becomes a post request right now. So this is how we can determine if the user has clicked the post button or not. So let's add an if statement and say if, let's use server. Let me just copy from there and say if server request method, I have to add those inverted commas inside, and double equal sign and inverted commas. All right, now if server request method is equal to post, which means someone has hit the post button, then we do all this stuff. So let me put the closing bracket there and indent these a little bit like that. So this part, if now I refresh the page, I see it's nice and clean at the top. Okay, because none of this is happening unless I hit the post button. Then I see some weird things going on here because we are still checking out the server. So let me just take this back to files, and we actually don't need this information anymore. We don't need to show the user this information. All we need to do is do that. Now the way we have to know if the file has been uploaded, we need a message here that says echo. We echo that and say file uploaded. Okay, now this should only show up if everything went well, right? So let me put a break tag here just for cleaning up. So how do we know that? If you check the move uploaded file, it returns a Boolean value, which is either true or false. It's true if the file has been copied, it's false if it has failed. So let's add an if statement and say if move uploaded file We don't need to add an equal sign here because already this evaluates to either true or false. So if true, then we echo file uploaded like that. Otherwise, nothing will show up. Okay, you could add an else statement and say file uploading failed. Uploading failed, something like that. Okay, so that's all we need to do for now. So let me refresh the page and hit browse in this case, and then let me select that very file and hit post, and you see a nice image there and some nice text that says file uploaded, which is awesome. Okay, so let's check if the file has been uploaded for real. Let me go back to my folder and let me check in uploads, and you see the file has been uploaded with the same original file name. Okay, now the thing is we have to be able to at least see the files down here that we've uploaded. Otherwise, this looks too empty for now. So to do that, there's a cool function called globe. So let me add some PHP tags here and the closing PHP tag. In the viewer, we are doing this in the viewer, which is this nice box over here. Let me reduce the view so you can see a bit more of it. So now, globe, it's like this globe. So if you see here, it says globe returns an array. Okay, it returns an array and it requires a string pattern and some flags if necessary that are optional. So let me do that. Let me specify the string path, which is the folder that we are going to check. Now what globe actually does is it checks all files from a specific folder and returns an array containing those files. So let me assign this to an array and say array is equal to globe, and then now I'm specifying the folder where I want globe to get these files. So I can also specify, let me put a star dot, specify the file types for globe to look for. So in this case, I want you to look for images. So I'll put a curly bracket and say JPG. Now sometimes these images are JPEG, okay? And sometimes the JPEG is in capital letters and the JPEG may also be in capital letters. So just put all those there and close the curly brackets, close the inverted commas and put a comma. Now let's specify some flags. Now the flag we want to specify is one called globe brace. So now what globe brace does, it tells globe to look for individual file types that look like this, okay, which is what we want. So at the bottom here, I want us to see what array will contain. So let me use these nice pre-tags at the top here. Let me just paste them down here. Remove the commenting, and then let me put this array here. Boom. So we are checking what's inside array at this moment. Let me just hit refresh, and you see it's an empty array at this moment, which is weird because it's not supposed to be empty. Oh, the reason is this folder name is actually uploads. All right, so let me refresh, and you see now we have a file name in there in memory location 0 in the array. So uploads 0.jpg. So since this is an image, we can actually display it. We know this is an image. So in order to display these images, let's just iterate through the array and display each element in the array. So we're going to do a for each. Right now there's only one item, but as we upload more files, there'll be more items. So we have to go through each item and display it. So let me type array as file. So the for each loop works like this. It goes through the array one element at a time and assigns each value through each loop to the file variable. So at this point, we can just say echo. Let's echo this as an image, img, with a source. The source is file, okay? And then let's close that. Now remember, we have a style for images here, which says body img. So we don't actually need to specify it as an ID because it doesn't have this hash at the beginning. So automatically all images by default in this body tag will have this style right here. So we don't need to specify a class or the ID. Right, so let me just refresh the page, and immediately we see an image displaying there. Okay, now one important thing to note is that if someone loads an MP3, for example, an MP3 file, because right now we are not restricting any types of file uploads. So somebody can actually upload an MP3, and we want to know if it's an MP3 or something. So we have to check before we upload this file. Or worse, somebody could upload a virus or an exe file, an executable file, which could be bad. So we have to restrict the type of files that we are allowing. So if you remember previously, we had a part which says type. So let me just browse an image in here and load a new image and hit post. So as you can see, the image has also shown up there. Now we have two images. But the thing I want you to pay attention to is the type, image JPEG here. Let me enlarge this a little bit. So the type is image JPEG. Now remember, the audio is audio MPEG. So we can check for these two file types so that we limit what kind of files people can actually upload. Okay, so let me comment these back. So we check first if it's a post method, then let's check for the right file size, or file type rather. So let me just check for file type. Let's put a comment there. So we'll say if, in this case, type. So we are checking for type. Now that type is in files, my file, like that, and type. We use the double equal sign. If it's equal to that, which means this is good, and then we use the double pipes for or. So if file this is equal to image JPEG, or the same thing again is equal to audio slash MPEG. Let me remove that part, like that. If any of these, if it's any of these, then we are good to go. Okay, so let me put a an inverted comma, a closing curly bracket at the bottom, and move these indent these a little bit. All right, so we check that. Now if this is not true, we have to tell the user that what you've typed in is what you've sent is unacceptable. So let's do an echo here and say unsupported file type. Okay, like that. So let's test this out and see what awesomeness we get. So let me browse and let me load the PHP file instead, a file that is .php, and hit post. And as you can see at the top, it says unsupported file type. So you can add any message that you want at this point. So it doesn't matter unsupported, but at least it does know that this is unsupported. So now if I browse and select the MP3 rather and hit post, it says file uploaded, because MP3, as we said here, is an acceptable file type. Okay, now we need a way to display the MP3 files as well. So let me go down here and repeat exactly the same thing, but this time instead of checking for JPEGs, we are going to be checking for MP3 files. So let's assign the same array to another globe and say MP3, comma, MP3 in capital letters, just in case. Okay, now we don't display audio files like this. What we do is there's an audio tag like that and a closing audio tag like that. Okay, and then we require a source down here, which is source equals, src equals, and then we have the file. Okay, we can specify a type if we want, which is audio slash MPEG, like that. And then if we need to see the controls, we have to write controls here. So this will look for MP3 files and echo the MP3 down here. Okay, so let me check that out. Let me just refresh the page, since we already uploaded an MP3, and you see the MP3 file showing over there. Now I want this to be on a line of its own, so I may just give it a width. Let me style it a little bit. Let me say style equals, let me give it a width of 99 or let's say 98%, like that. Let's see what happens, and it moves to the next line. Then I want to see the title of the song down here. So what I can do is, I know file is the file name, but it's got the folder name as well, so I don't want that displayed. So what I could do, I want it to echo down here, so I'll say echo file, but I'll say base name, like that, so which will get the actual name without the folders and echo it. So let me refresh the page, and you see the title of the song down there. So let me try to upload another audio file. Browse and upload the Justin Bieber, post, and it also comes down here. So if I hit play, and you see it playing just fine. Okay, so if I try to upload another image, let me hit browse and hit that image over there and hit post. I see another image, so I can just keep browsing and posting. It's open season now, like that. See, browse, post, and they keep moving like that. So just like that, we've created a file uploading website. Okay, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Oh, by the way, there's one more thing you have to learn, because sometimes if you try to upload MP3 files, you get an error that says you're exceeding the upload limit size. So this could be caused by your PHP settings. So if you have to edit these PHP settings in your XAMPP control panel. But if you are on an actual website, there's a file called php.ini, which you have to look for. php.ini, which is this one. Let me check it out here. It's php.ini. This is the text file you have to edit. Even on shared hosting, you can edit a file like this of your own. So you have to do a search for max post. Maybe I've bypassed it. Let me go back up. Oh, can't find it. Let me try max post. Oh, sorry, it's actually post max. Sorry. Come on. Okay, there we go. So post max size. Here it says 8M, which is 8 megabytes. You may need to change this one to something bigger if you want to be uploading bigger stuff. But this is only for the post variable. Then there's another one called upload. Max upload size. Max upload. Okay, maybe we should go up. Let me see. What's that one? Upload max. Not there, and there we go. So it's called upload max file size, which is 20 megabytes on mine. So yours could be smaller, it could be 2 or something, which will stop you from uploading MP3 files. So you have to change this to something bigger, and you'll be home and dry. So you can edit this file even on your hosting account online. So just ask your hosting company to show you where this file resides so you can edit if necessary. And that's about it on uploading files on your server. So the next tutorial, we are going to learn how to crop these images so they look nice like this, cropping and resizing these images as they are being uploaded. So please subscribe so you don't miss these videos, and like, comment, share, and I will see you in a later video.